Disney has been producing princess movies for decades now, and with each movie, they've attempted to follow the times and create lovable characters young children admire. However, with each new princess's arrival, Disney still lacks the courage to take risks in regards to what can be seen as a role model.
I think it's particular to Disney as much as Disney is fitting into broad, larger trends. If it was just Disney, it would be some kind of weird anomaly, and you'd be like, why does that character look like this like upside down triangle man, right? Like no human actually looks like that. But since it's repeated over and over again in lots of cartoons, in lots of movies, I think that's where it becomes problematic.
Some gender stereotypes in Aladdin. Definitely Jasmine is kind of like a damsel in distress, a character. She is very strong and independent, which I admire a lot. Like her father, the Sultan, tries to pawn her off to all these different suitors, and she's just not about it. She just wants to live her own life, which I think is great.
I am not a prize to be won.
Oh dear.
But I think they do still portray her as looking for like something more, and I think she does find that in a man, which Aladdin is.
I think now in our generation, we want women to be more, have more empowerment, be more out there, be able to defend themselves. Because like a long time ago, women were only the house, in the house, or they didn't have a lot of to say.
I mean, there's always with all Disney movies, you're gonna get the abnormal body images. Like her waist was super tiny, and she never wore that many clothes.
According to Sam Higgs, Disney princesses are classified into 3 categories.
The classical princess.
I'll wash and sew and sweep and cook.
The Renaissance princess.
If I become human, I'll never be with my father or sisters again.
The revival princess.
But without my help, you will never find your precious satchel.
The classical princess category consists of characters like Snow White, Cinderella, and Sleeping Beauty. The women in this category are stay at home all day, clean, and wait for their prince to come and save them while occasionally talking to animals.
I'm so ashamed of the fuss I've made.
Looking back at their entire history, at the beginning, Snow White was their first film, and she was very much wishing for a man to come sweep her off her feet.
The Renaissance princess consists of characters like Mulan, Jasmine, and Ariel. This category was created with a manifestation of third-wave feminism. She fights against her patriarchal society, but also reinforces some of the same old Disney princess values.
I feel like Ariel, in particular, I don't like Ariel at all. She sells her soul, essentially, her singing voice and her legs, to be with her man. That's all she wanted. Just some cute guy she saw on a boat.
All of Hollywood has been driven by romance, right? So that's sort of the part of the underlying ideology of Hollywood films is that a 2-person monogamous partnership is your goal in life, right? And even in action films or any kind of film, you have to at least have some romantic subplot.
The revival princess consists of characters like Rapunzel, Elsa, and Merida. This category consists of female leads that are hardworking and independent, but as they exist in a society where they are not the norm, they are still considered weak.
Frozen is a very new Disney movie, and it does pander to an audience that isn't so much about really the romantic side of Disney anymore.
I think Jasmine is a lot more dependent on other people, whereas Elsa, she's a queen. She's the main person. People come to her instead of her depending on other people.
Having Anna and Frozen fall in love automatically with Hans played into their more classic view as women and their role in society, really. They definitely changed it with the spin at the end, making Hans the villain in the whole story.
Oh, Anna. If only there was someone out there who loved you.
Since Disney is taking a new look at what it means to be, I don't know, a Disney princess or someone who is in a Disney movie, you know, they're really like trying to pander to an audience of today. So rather than have it like be Prince Charming comes and saves the day, it was two sisters who really love each other.
Sacrificed yourself for me? I love you.
The issue with Disney, to me, at this point in history, is less to do with the movies themselves and more to do with the industry that's sprung up around it, and the kind of ways that it encourages children to identify beyond the screen.
And I can do the sewing. Leave the sewing to the women.
People watch movies in a lot of different ways, right? And they take different things from it that aren't necessarily what the movie itself was trying to communicate. We find different ways into them.
Watching Disney movies has kind of instilled in me like the idea of like true love and all that kind of stuff. I don't really think that's like super duper realistic. And I never really wanted to be like Jasmine. I knew like I would be different, I'd be my own person.
You can sort of change things and kind of mess with them in ways that kind of work better for you.
As little kids watching the movie, like for me, I never paid any attention, and I'm pretty sure that little kids won't pay attention to it either. But you know, as they start getting older, it's kind of their decision whether or not they actually want to have a slimmer body or they feel comfortable in their own skin. But for like a children's movie, I mean, not really. I mean, I personally would love to see a movie where, you know, women are not portrayed as super skinny. And I think like it was even mentioned, like Nani from Lilo and Stitch, like how she had an actual like body, like how we see it, like how we see an actual human body.
New research from BYU Family Life professor Sarah M. Coyne shows that engagement with Disney princess culture isn't harmless. It can influence preschoolers to be more susceptible to potentially damaging stereotypes.
My latest kill roasting on the fire, and my little wife massaging my feet.
The study involved 198 preschoolers and analyzed how much they interact with Disney princess culture, whether it's watching movies or playing with toys, etc.
Researchers found that 96% of girls and 87% of boys view Disney princess media. While more than 61% of girls played with Disney princess toys at least once a week, only 4% of boys did the same.
For both boys and girls, more interactions with the princesses predicted more female gender stereotypical behavior a year later.
It's not about saying whether something is a good or a bad image, right, or a good or a bad representation, and then trying to like replace bad representations with good ones, because you can never control how people receive the images, right, entirely. So if you just replace a bad image with a good one, you can still be playing into your own kind of, you know, like hegemonic beliefs or something, right? So, but you also can't control how people are going to watch it in the same way you can't control how people are going to watch negative representations, right? So you can play with them and change them and subvert them. You can do the same thing with positive representations. So what's more effective is to kind of go into the image and pick it apart and denaturalize it and figure out, why is this being represented in this way at this time? Why did Frozen strike a chord with so many people at this time? What was it about this story right now? Whose interest is it serving? Whose stories are being left out? And this is what I think is the important thing to do with these images, rather than being like, Cinderella's bad, and this is good.
With new perspectives emerging in Disney movies, linguists Carmen Fott and Karen Eisenhower have studied princess representation. While these princesses are seen as main characters, a lot of them may be token princesses. This also brings up a potential problem with confusing diversity with tokenism.
If you just sort of drop a person of color into a story that's generated by a kind of white, middle-class, like Anglo-European modern ideology, right? Without recognizing that the person of color has been affected by all of those discourses differently than a white character. If you just sort of put a brown person in there, it almost erases all of those other challenges that they've had to deal with, and it's always ambivalent. It's always two-sided, right? So on the one hand, it's good to have more representations and to have more people seeing themselves on screen and sort of be able to recognize that they're part of the story. But if you do that by erasing all of the things that made their story different, that's not awesome.
Even though Disney princess culture has progressed throughout the years, it's still important for viewers to watch these movies with a critical eye. Acknowledging stereotypes and recognizing the influence these movies can have help to show these movies are not just for entertainment, but have the potential to shape the individual's perceptions of gender.